COVID-19. Hello and welcome back to the Perpetual Now. I'm your host Eason, and today I'm going to be talking about Ville Valo, the once frontman of the band Him. I can see that we're going to have a little bit of difficulty with our pronouns on this one. Now, Him is a band... Seriously, Him is a band that made its career from love songs. When I say love songs, I don't mean a few cutesy singles here and there. I mean that every single song on every single album has always been about love in some way, shape, or form. Him actually made a name for themselves by covering Chris Isaak's Wicked Game on their first album, which was such a successful cover, and the Razorblade Romance version, the remix, was even more popular, to the point where all the other material of the band was pretty much overshadowed by this one song. But anyway, as far as its history is concerned, Him basically is on the rise throughout their first 4 albums. Greatest Love Songs Volume 666, their debut, introduced them to the world. Razorblade Romance, their sophomore effort, was a commercial success, and it saw the sort of softening and more commercialization of their sound. By the time Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights, their third album, had come out, their keyboard player, the one with the magnificent stage name of Zoltan Pluto, had actually left the band, replaced by Burton. And then the band made Love Metal, their 4th and most successful album, and according to me, the peak point of the band's history. However, the band did not have a graceful second half of their career, mainly because every album after Love Metal was a hit and a miss. In fact, here, I'll list them for you. Darklight, miss. Venus Tomb, hit. Screamworks, goddamn, why does that album even fucking... And finally, Tears on Tape, sort of a hit. Before its dissolution following the tour for their 8th studio album, the 2013's Tears on Tape, Him was a staple of gothic metal. Made famous primarily by incorporating pop and doom metal influences to their more core gothic metal sound, which later evolved, or depending on your perspective, devolved into a goth rock sound. Him was made famous equally by their lyrics and the image of their frontman, Ville Valo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I used to be a pretty big Him fan. I mean, I don't have a heartagram tattoo or anything, well, not yet. But as with all good things, Him came to an end, and after that, band members just dispersed, busy with their own projects, or some of them just disappeared, and Ville Valo just spent the interim years just sort of fucking around, mostly. And I sort of stopped following him because one of the biggest selling points of Him had always been his voice and his lyrics. But 2 very important factors just sort of resulted in his voice devolving to the point where he started sounding like a stalling engine every time he tried to hold a note for longer than 3 fucking seconds. But quite unexpectedly, Ville Valo has recently returned with a 3-song EP titled Gothica Fennica Volume 1, hinting at more volumes to come. And 3 tracks, their titles Salute the Sanguine, Run Away from the Sun. These are all standard Him fanfares, so naturally I was kind of intrigued, especially since I was actually expecting a more electronic sort of sound, because, you know, that seems to be all the rage nowadays. And then I started listening. Now, straight up, if you're a fan of Him, the band, you can basically tell where each of these songs fit in their discography because they feel like they are just B-sides or songs that were finished but just were not included in the track lists at the time, the instrumentals of which were brought forward and Valo laid down new vocals for them. That's basically the shape and size of what you are going to find on this EP. I'll even distribute them for you. Salute the Sanguine is basically anywhere either on Darklight or Tears on Tape. Run Away from the Sun is definitely from Tears on Tape, and Saturnine Saturnalia is an outtake from Venus Doom. There's nothing on these tracks that you haven't already heard from Him, both the man and the band, or any other band that makes similar music. Hell, I didn't know that I was going to count Lacrimas Profundere's latest album as being hugely experimental compared to this repetitive shit. Don't get me wrong, the songs are actually nice. They have the doom-adjacent, fuzzed-out, Tony Yummy-like guitar sound. They have small, catchy riffs, nice glossy keyboards, sort of heartfelt melodies, and, as always, songs about love. But that in and of itself just makes me wonder why this has to be released under the name of Ville Valo and not just him, the band. Because given that these songs actually feel like outtakes from previous albums, they could have just as easily have been a part of a new Him EP. It doesn't even have to feature the same musicians, although, I like that the rather stable lineup of Him always brought some kind of synergy to the music made. Like, you could have just basically advertised this as a Him album and nobody would know the difference. That is how similar they sound. Furthermore, if you are a Him fan, I don't think you would be passing this EP up anyway because of your love for the band. So given all this, I don't understand why this has to be a volume 1, because I feel like there could have just been a full length and we would still regard it as the new Him album. I don't really understand why this had to be an EP, honestly, because as it stands, it's just too short anyway, because Him songs don't usually stretch beyond the regular pop song length of 3 to 5 minutes anyway, and these certainly don't. So you have barely 15 minutes of new music that could have been a whole album, especially if my suspicions are true, and that there are more songs that are either outtakes from previous albums or new songs that feel like they're outtakes from previous albums waiting to be released in this EP format. And I sort of understand why it's being released that way, because it is more lucrative, but I highly doubt that the fan base Him retained throughout the years would not be going out to acquire this album in whatever ways it's being sold. So I guess the question of whether or not I would recommend this EP boils down to one thing, and this is whether or not you are a fan of Him, the band. If the answer is yes, then there is no reason why you shouldn't immediately and madly fall in love with these new songs. And if you're not, then these songs are probably not going to ingratiate you to the band any more than you already have. I mean, if you're curious as to what this band was in its heyday, I suggest going all the way back to Greatest Love Songs Volume 666 and starting from there. But overall, as far as an EP goes, I would give this a 3 out of 5 because it offers nothing new, but what it offers is done competently and on the same level that the better Him albums have been on. So if this is a sign of things to come, I'm really excited about what's going to follow because, like I said, I'm a fan of Him, the band, and I would love to see them make more music. I know that this isn't exactly Him as we knew it. God damn, these pronouns are really fucking with me right now. But I think there's reason to be excited if there's more on the horizon. So, until then, fuck COVID-19. This is Eason. Peace out.
Stay safe, stay sane.
And if you like my content, please subscribe. I said now.
Come on and show them your love. Rip out the wings of a butterfly.
And that sort of always confused me a little because I just don't understand how ripping the wings off a defenseless butterfly was supposed to be for my soul. It's gonna live like a few days at the most anyway. Why am I rendering it wingless? And how is that supposed to help with my soul?